This is the most ambitious album Cradle of Filth has released to this day. It's a huge 76-minute mammoth of a concept album, based on the poem Paradise Lost by John Milton, and it's amazing. I have nothing but love for Damnation. Cradle switched over to Sony Records for this release, and they seriously took full advantage of the new resources, getting the Budapest Film Orchestra and Choir to do all the orchestration on the album, and Christ does it pay off. Putting a full orchestra to Cradle of Filth's music adds a whole new level of apocalyptic epicness that the keyboards just can't reproduce. Just listen to some of this. Now, Guy and Pyers left Cradle shortly before the writing process, and they didn't hire anyone in his place. Instead, Paul Allender and Martin Powell did all the guitars. Original bassist Robin Graves also left, and he was replaced with Dave Pybus. But all of this doesn't hurt the sound of the album at all. We also get narration by David McEwen, who played Kemper in Cradle of Fear, which also starred Danny Filth. Damnation in a Day tells its story in 4 parts: Fantasia Down, Paradise Lost, Suicide Up, and The Scented Garden. Each section has its own orchestral track, followed by your head-smashing Cradle of Filth songs. Fantasia Down begins with Abuse Upon a Silent Moon, and damn, it's just amazing. Right out of the gate you can hear the majesty of this orchestra. Then you get A Promise of Fever, Hurt and Virtue, and An Enemy Led the Tempest. This section stays pretty heavy throughout, with my favorites being A Promise of Fever and Hurt and Virtue. That opening on Hurt and Virtue just rips your ears off, man. The Paradise Lost section starts with a real eerie and angelic choir with Damned in Any Language. And damn, when the horns kick in, it's just awesome. Also, you gotta love David's narration.
There was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought, and his angels. And
that's followed by Better to Reign in Hell, Serpent Tongue, and Carrion. Better to Reign in Hell is a badass opener for this section. Serpent Tongue slows things down a little, but still gets heavy as all fuck.
So adept was unspoken line, the dusty mattress of the seraphim.
And dig that hooky moment on Carrion. Suicide Up begins with the beautiful and dark intro, The Mordant Liquor of Tears. The music builds from a slow beginning to a real suspenseful end. This section of the album is pretty damn good too. We get presents from the Poison Hearted, Doberman Pharaoh, and Babylon AD. Poison Hearted is pretty standard, and Babylon is pretty rad, but I love the shit out of Doberman Pharaoh from this chapter. The final stretch of Damnation in a Day is The Scented Garden, kicking things off with A Scarlet Witch Lit the Season. It's followed up with Mannequin, Thank God for the Suffering, The Smoke of Her Burning, and End of Days. Mannequin is okay, it's pretty polished and easy to listen to. You can tell why this was a single. But damn, The Smoke of Her Burning and Thank God for the Suffering have some serious power. Now the whole thing ends with End of Days, and it's a reprise of Bruise Upon a Silent Moon, and damn, they managed to make it sound even more apocalyptic. This album is ambitious as all fuck, and to me it really holds up after all these years. Now I can see where some people might not like it as much because you do have to put in some effort to listen to it all the way through. I mean, this is a whole lot of filth to get through in one sitting. But damn, the album is so good that I hardly ever noticed the length. Using the full orchestra on here gives Damnation a booming sound that's almost biblical in scope. The songs are heavy, dark, and in most cases not as long as other Cradle of Filth cuts. If you can make it through this long journey of an album, you're gonna go on one hell of a trip. Damnation in a Day gets 10 serpent tongues out of 10.
Darkness was upon the face of the deep.
It took me 2 whole weeks to dispose of her body, ground up the bones all into dust. Hid some remains in an old metal barrel down in my basement, hold the lid, don't rust. I love her so much, you know, that I just had to squeeze her. I got a few pieces lost